Have you ever looked at someone and thought, they seem fine, they're smiling, they're coping, and yet the moment they walk through their front door they collapse? Not because they are physically ill, but because they have spent the entire day trying to be someone the world expects them to be. Tonight on StJohn-On-Air, I want to talk about something many neurodivergent people know intimately, but that much of the world is only beginning to understand. It's called masking, sometimes referred to as camouflaging. And for many autistic people and many people with ADHD, it can be one of the most exhausting parts of everyday life. Masking or camouflaging is the conscious or unconscious process of changing, hiding, or suppressing aspects of our natural behavior, communication, or emotional expression to meet social expectations. For someone with ADHD, this might mean suppressing fidgeting, forcing themselves not to interrupt, hiding distractibility, pretending they are concentrating when their mind is racing. For someone on the autism spectrum, it may involve maintaining eye contact even when it feels uncomfortable, rehearsing conversations, copying facial expressions, suppressing stimming, constantly analyzing social situations. Psychologist Dr. Devon, author of Unmasking Autism, explains that many autistic people spend years learning how to appear normal rather than learning how to understand themselves, and that often comes at a significant emotional cost. So why do people mask? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, because at least in the short term, masking can help someone avoid rejection, bullying, misunderstanding, or exclusion. Research by psychologist Dr. Laura Hull, one of the leading researchers on autistic camouflaging, shows that many neurodivergent people begin masking in childhood after learning that their natural behaviors are not always accepted. They adapt, not because they are dishonest, because they are trying to stay safe. Children quickly learn these things. If I stop moving, the teacher smiles. If I don't talk about my favorite topic, people won't laugh. If I force eye contact, people think I'm paying attention. Little by little, the mask grows. Another important perspective comes from autism researcher Dr. Damian Milton, who introduced the double empathy problem. Rather than suggesting that autistic people alone struggle with communication, he argues that misunderstandings often happen in both directions. Autistic and non-autistic people may simply experience and interpret the world differently. Masking often develops because autistic people feel they must carry most of the responsibility for bridging that gap. From the outside, masking can look like success. Good grades, a stable job, a pleasant conversation, but inside it can be exhausting. Dr. Tony Attwood, one of the world's leading autism specialists, has frequently described how sustained social camouflaging can leave autistic people profoundly tired after a day of social interaction. Many autistic adults describe this prolonged physical and emotional exhaustion as autistic burnout, a concept that is increasingly recognized in both research and lived experience. The energy wasn't only spent on work, it was spent constantly monitoring, adjusting, and performing. A powerful example comes from Chris Peckham. Chris has spoken openly about being autistic and about the enormous effort it took throughout much of his life to fit into a world that wasn't designed for the way his mind works. He has described learning social interaction almost like learning a script, observing, copying, performing. Receiving his autism diagnosis later in life didn't remove every challenge, but it helped him understand why everyday life had often felt so exhausting. His story reminds us that many people we admire may be carrying invisible effort that others never see. So why families often misunderstand? This is one of the most difficult parts. Parents sometimes hear from teachers, "Your child is perfectly behaved." Then at home, everything falls apart. Meltdowns, shutdowns, tears, withdrawal, or complete exhaustion. Parents naturally wonder what happened. Psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Siegel reminds us that the nervous system has limits. For many neurodivergent children, home is the place where they finally feel safe enough to let go of the effort that they have been sustaining throughout the day. Sometimes difficult behavior at home is not a sign that home is a problem. It may be a sign that home is the safest place to stop performing. The consequences can be profound. Research by Dr. Laura Hull has found that higher levels of camouflaging are associated with increased anxiety, depression, burnout, lower self-esteem, and difficulties with identity. Researchers continue to explore exactly how these experiences influence one another, but the association is clear enough to deserve serious attention. Masking itself is not a mental illness, but constantly feeling unable to be yourself can become deeply exhausting. Autism educator Dr. Beardon argues that acceptance and understanding reduce stress far more effectively than constantly trying to make autistic people appear neurotypical. Feeling accepted is protective. Feeling constantly evaluated is exhausting. Recent research by Dr. Crompton offers an important reminder. Her studies found that autistic people often communicate extremely effectively with other autistic people. This challenges the old assumption that autistic people simply lack social skills. Instead, communication depends on whether people share similar ways of understanding and interacting with the world. Sometimes the difficulty isn't one person, it's a mismatch between two different communication styles. So how can we support someone who masks? Let's move toward hope. First, create at least one safe place. Children and adults need at least one place where they don't have to perform, where they can stim, move, rest, be quiet without being corrected. Secondly, replace what's wrong with "that must have taken a lot of energy." Validation changes everything. Psychologist Carl Rogers believed that genuine understanding creates the conditions for growth. People rarely heal through criticism. They heal through feeling understood. Next, don't praise only the mask. Instead of saying, "You were so well behaved today," try saying, "I hope you felt comfortable today." One praises performance, the other values the person. Next, respect recovery time. After school, after work, after social events, recovery isn't laziness. It's nervous system maintenance. Just as athletes need recovery after physical effort, many neurodivergent people need recovery after sustained social effort. And finally, encourage self-acceptance. Dr. Devon reminds us that the goal isn't to eliminate every mask. We just adjust our behavior in different situations. The goal is having the freedom to remove the mask when we need to, and knowing that there is at least one place where our artistic self is welcome. If you're raising a neurodivergent child, perhaps ask yourself tonight, does my child have one place where they don't have to pretend? And if you're listening as someone who masks every day, perhaps ask yourself, where can I allow myself to breathe, even for 10 minutes, even with one trusted person? The world often rewards people for fitting in, but healing often begins when someone quietly says, "You don't have to perform here." We all wear different social masks from time to time. We speak differently at work than we do with close friends. We adjust to different situations. But for many neurodivergent people, that adjustment can become constant, thoughtful, and deeply exhausting. Masking may help someone survive certain environments. Acceptance helps them truly live. So if you know someone whose smile seems effortless, remember, you cannot always see the effort behind it. Offer patience, offer curiosity, offer kindness, because sometimes the greatest gift we can give another human being is permission to stop pretending. Good night, and may tomorrow bring you at least one place where you can simply be yourself. Good luck.